of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bonnie, if you would be so kind as to call the roll.
Johnson?
Here.
Crawford?
Here.
Klaus?
Here.
Max Bauer?
Here.
And Wheelock, Kropa, and Lathrop are excused.
All right. First item on the agenda is our equalization, well, it's public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none. Our equalization report, Jim, please come forward, introduce yourself, and it's your turn.
Jim Baker, Director of Equalization, Grand Traverse County. We talked last year about trying to combine this with a different meeting, and Bonnie and I worked on this with council, and it was suggested by council that we leave it on this date because it's specifically called out in the tax law. So I would agree, though, if you would prefer this meeting, say at 8 or 5, or even if you wanted me to come at 7 or whatever it takes to make it beneficial for you. Feel free to talk about...
Are you talking in the morning? Are you talking in the morning?
Or
Okay.
evening, I think.
Morning or evening, your pleasure. So that would be another topic we could bring up in the future if you so desire.
It was, Jim, just for your information, it was set at 2 o'clock because the county prosecutor's office said, this is the time and date you need to have this, and so we basically do what our civil counsel tells us to do.
Right, and I think the time of day could be more negotiable than the day, so.
All right.
So if that's something you want to approach in the future, to put it on either end of the day, I wouldn't think that would be a problem, personally.
Okay.
I supplied with the study an equalization department overview, and Chris Kramer had suggested that each department was trying to give commissioners an overview of the stats of their department and different things. I included that, and the cover letter was a letter that you had received once already, and then I typed up an equalization tax calendar. I would be glad to cover that if you so please, or if you have read it and have any questions, I could go that direction. So I'm asking you as the commission, what would you like from me concerning the overview of equalization?
If you wouldn't mind, Jim, this is just from me. I would like you to give an overview, not so much for me as the public who might not understand or have a comprehension of what you're presenting.
Okay. Basically, because of Michigan tax law, there is a 3-tiered check and balance system where you have a local unit and an assessor in that local unit that puts an individual assessment on properties. That assessor has to take those individual assessments in the various classes of properties, and they have to meet a certain level as studied by county equalization, which is the second tier of the 3-tiered system. County equalization prepares studies throughout the year to determine overall assessment levels in each unit of government for each class of property. And when we get into the calendar, if you wanted, we could go through that fairly quickly, because that kind of explains our yearly process. But when we set that assessment level, we work with the local unit and make sure they reach that level of assessment. And today, that's what we're doing, is I'm verifying to you that each unit reached that level of assessment that was determined in the studies and through their assessing process and March board review, and in their final numbers have reached those assessment levels as based on our studies.
And when you talk about local unit, you are, of course, referring to townships, villages, cities. Well,
Actually,
I don't think
townships and
in
city,
cities.
because the village is included within the township itself in their totals.
Okay.
So just to breeze down through the tax calendar, I started on June 30th because that is the beginning of our process. That is when we file a form with the state indicating how many parcels and what percent of value we will be studying in all of the classes of each unit. And there are 14 local units in our jurisdiction, 13 townships and 1 city. And we have to make 92 independent studies of value and equalization. Last year it was almost 4,200 parcels and approximately 8% of the whole value we studied. Well, we indicate to the state on a report June 30th, this is what we intend to do and how far we are into it. And at that point, I usually put like we're 10% into it. September 30th is when the sales deadline ends, and what we do is we use historical sales to predict future value. And we'll use sales in a rising market that will go 2 years back from September 30th. And so just inherently in the system, those old sales will predict increases in value that are tempered by the oldest sales. In a declining market, the state allows us to use a 1-year study so that we can reflect the downturn with less lag than the upturns. October is our apportionment month, so that's when we will come with the apportionment report, all the millages and the estimated tax dollars generated by those millages. December 1st, we have a deadline to report to the state the apportionment numbers. Back 20 years ago, I think August was the last month you could vote millage and actually levy it that year, but they have since changed it so you can vote millage in November and still levy it. So that's why I come to you sometimes in November and ask for an amendment, because they've voted millage since I've made my report, and the state has given me until December 1st to report those. And December 1st is also when we should have study results in the assessor's hands, meaning your various classes need to go up and down by this much. Between December 1st and the first part of January this year, it'll be January 4th, the studies kind of look, or I should say the assessors look at the studies we gave them. And sometimes they can maybe pick out something we missed, or it's a little bit of a time of you see what we've done, see if you believe it. If you don't, tell me why. And then by April 4th, we submit a study to the state that we hold to and pursue those levels. February 12th, we publish in a newspaper the tentative ratios, and those are ratios that are just a mathematical calculation that would take the various assessment levels to a 50%. So then in April 6th next year, that's the last day that a township can turn in a roll from the March Board Review. And then, so you can see that next year, April 12th, we'll be at this same meeting. And so between the 6th and the 12th, sometimes there's not a lot of time to get this report done, and sometimes we're scrambling. And then shortly after this meeting, I'll be reporting these values approved today to the state, and then we'll supply a separate calculation, the L4023. It's a calculation that shows that they've met the assessment level. The 2nd of May is the absolute deadline for submitting this report. May 9th will be when the state has a preliminary meeting to agree that the numbers we approve today are what they want to approve. So far, the representative from the Assessment and Certification Division has been in our office and looked over what we've been doing, and I have not heard of anything that would cause a state factor, anything other than, you know, a 1. That would be. And then in the later part of May, you'll have the final state equalization. Let's see. And then by June 6th, we have to calculate all the millage rollback fractions. Those fractions are, in basic terms, if our increases inflate beyond the rate of inflation, this calculation will roll back the millage to keep that in check. So we're collecting the proper amount of dollars. So it appears this year, just preliminary, that there's no county rollback. There are a few townships that preliminary, again, we haven't finalized these, but a few more townships this year are being rolled back. 2 years ago, it started with 1 township, and last year 2.
It was Long Lake, wasn't it, last year?
Last year was Long Lake and Mayfield, and then this year Long Lake again, and I think a couple, 3 more. I can't remember, but.
And you will let the county board know, you know, who those townships are?
Yes, that report will be made public on the website, and we can certainly include them with information in your bins and boxes. And so then we go to June 27th, and that's when we report taxable values, and then we just start all over again with the interim report. I know that was quick, probably a lot is confusing, but any questions on that, or?
I'm not seeing any,
Just like an audit.
Yeah?
Basically, it's an audit of the tax roll.
but we have 3 business people to my left, so they understand more than most.
Well, and the equalization report, again, is been given to you, fairly self-explanatory. I would entertain any questions up front on it. If there are charts or graphs or anything that would help present the material, I'd be glad to add them in the future. The biggest bottom line that I got a smile out of Dave on the other day was that 3.273% increase in taxable value, so.
More than we had budgeted.
All right.
That was, I think, a result of having a 1.6% inflation rate increase, or CPI increase, and then a lot of new construction. The uncappings will kick in a rollback fraction if we have too many uncappings. There were quite a few of those, but evidently not enough, because the new construction doesn't penalize us in the rollback fraction. So that's how we can get the 3.273% increase in taxable value not be rolled back with only a 1.6% inflation rate.
Okay. Are you looking for a motion? Please refresh my memory, to accept or approve your equalization report.
Special board meeting. This is a board meeting, right?
It's to approve the
approve.
the
As
equalization report.
approved, the 2015 equalization values for each city, village, township as recommended.
All right. I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Moved by Crawford.
Support.
Supported by Klaus. Discussion?
Sure you wanted that.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same. Motion
Okay.
carries.
Thank you.
All right.
If I could get the chairman of the board signature today on the original copy, I'd appreciate it.
All right.
And Bonnie signs it.
This is a board vote, and we
Yep.
do have a quorum, so yes, I certainly will do that.
Okay, thank you.
And, all right, This is our second opportunity for public comment.
I would like to public comment that I failed to introduce my staff.
Please do so, Jim.
Yes, Catherine Wallace is my deputy. I have appreciated her. She came from Saginaw County. We came together under Bob, and we've enjoyed our time here, and I think we've got the Equalization Department going in a good direction. Our newest appraiser, not newest to our staff because he was the office clerk specialist in our office, but has since entered the MCAO class that the state puts on to become well, I shouldn't say entry level because it's actually the old 2, you know, they took away the 1 level. Now it's the certified level. So he is within days of passing that, and he has been promoted to appraiser because we've had a couple vacancies and some turnaround in our staff. So, and that's Warren Parrish.
Keep stealing our people.
Well, I want you to know that I sit on the Michigan Association of Counties Legislative Committee, and I needed some information regarding taxable values. And I walked into your office. You were not present, but your staff was. I had the information I requested within 24 hours. I have to tell you, I was amazed because clearly they had a report readied, and I forwarded it on to the Michigan Association of Counties, and I thank you and your staff for being so responsive and informed.
Well, thank you for the comment.
All right. With that, we are adjourned.
Okay.
This is number.